What's up, fuckers? It's your favorite Fortnite gamer, XTR, here to bring you a new video, and this one's going to be catered towards beginners, so if you're not a beginner, get the fuck off this video. Now, basically what I'm going over is Counter-Strike terms, and I know a lot of you have heard this shit in games. They're like, oh, he's fucking CT, you fucking dumbass, he's CT, and you're like, what the hell is CT? So I'm here to teach you a lot of the very common CSGO terms that people use in Valorant and that you are expected to know even if it is your first fucking game playing Valorant. You will get flamed if you don't know these. So that's where I'm coming in, trying to educate you, you fucking dumbass, because why the fuck didn't you play CSGO? So to start with the basics, we have our first basic, which is CT and T spawn. And what CT is the defender spawn. And if somebody calls out CT spawn, it is definitely going to be the defender spawn. If somebody calls out T spawn, it is going to be the attacking spawn. And with that, there are more calls from Counter-Strike that are carried over. Like default box is generally going to be the biggest box on the site. Heaven is going to be anywhere like an upper position on any of the site. Like as you see on screen, that rafter up there is going to be heaven, and below it is going to most likely be called hell or cubby. Cubby is usually one of the smaller parts on site that people like to sit in and hide in. So there are going to be a lot of calls that are carried over from Counter-Strike, and it's very vital that you learn these. And you will get flamed if you don't know these. Just as a fair warning, you are going to get flamed if you don't know a lot of these callouts. Once again, that is where I'm trying to come in and kind of explain these. So we're going to talk about ecos, and basically eco and half buys are pretty much interchangeable. They mean pretty much the same exact thing. Basically what you are doing is you are buying down to the point where you can still buy the next round, and you will know how much you're gonna need to buy next round. If you go into your buy menu, it's gonna tell you the minimum that you will have next round, and you want to keep that somewhere in the 4,500 to 4,000 range. That's kind of a general basis for what you want to do on eco rounds. So if somebody says eco, don't buy a fucking rifle in all your utility, listen to them. Now there's also saving, which means you pretty much don't buy anything. And on save rounds, you can buy a couple things. Like sometimes I'll buy a flashbang, sometimes I'll buy like a deagle or something. And I'll still make sure that I have more than enough money to buy the next round. So saving is basically just not buying anything so you can make sure you are economically stable the next round. And on the flip side of this, there is also full buying, where if you have enough money, if your whole team has enough money, you are buying the proper essential utilities such as a Vandal or Phantom and all the utility required for the round. That is the ideal amount that you want to actually be buying. That is the ideal round, basically, for your economy, is you want to have enough with your whole team to buy. That is the point of saving in eco rounds. Eco rounds, half buys, saving, all that shit. Now, next up, we have Goosing and Dinking, which are two terms you're going to hear a lot. Like, he's gushed, he's dinked. And basically, gush is where you headshot an enemy. Gush is where you headshot an enemy player that is not wearing a helmet or armor. And basically, they don't die, but they get headshot. Your teammate goes down. He's like, he's fucking gushed for like 80 damage. That tells you that he's low on health, and he also had a gush. The meaning of that basically just comes from, you know, the sound it made in Counter-Strike when you would headshot someone. It sounded like a fucking gush. Dinking is the flip side of that as well, where if they are wearing a helmet or they have armor and you dink them with like a phantom and you do like 120 damage or however much the phantom does, that'll be called a dink because you headshot them with a rifle and they did not die. That means they had full armor and you headshot them. So that's a dink. Dinking is headshotting somebody with a full armor and they don't die, like with a phantom or a sheriff. And gushing is where you headshot somebody with like a pistol or an SMG and they don't die. And aside from that, you also have lit or tagged. Tagged is where you hit someone just slightly, ever so slightly, and they're like, yeah, that enemy's tagged for 30. And lit is usually when they are pretty low on HP. Like, I lit them for 90. Like, that person's lit as fuck, or they are lit for 90. Now, you also have legging, which is an op term, where if you shoot somebody in the leg and they don't die with the operator, then that will be a leg shot. So I legged that player. You also have walled, where you shoot somebody through a wall. There's a lot of terms for these, so they're all going to be used. You will hear all of these, just as a heads up. So you have legged, tagged, walled, gushed, and dinked. So now we move on to trading and baiting. Trading is basically the act of following up for your teammate's death or following up on a fight that your teammate is trying to take. So let's say your teammate is currently fighting somebody and he goes down. If you swing out and get the kill, instantly that is known as a trade. If you hear somebody screaming at you to trade the kill, that generally means that you are either baiting him or he was in a very bad position and you can't actually trade him. So you really want to be there to follow up and actually trade for your teammate. Now, baiting is the opposite of trading, where basically your teammate goes down and you're just cowering in a fucking corner like a pussy. Now, people will get really mad when they see you're baiting, but there's good baiting and bad baiting, and I won't go into that. I already made a video on that, and I will link that in the description for anyone that is interested. But baiting is basically just using your teammate as bait and not really doing anything with it. Good baiting is where you use your teammate as bait and you actually secure kills in doing so. Both types of baiting can be very annoying, but there's way more. It goes way more in depth. Now we're going to move on a little bit to gunplay. The main term in gunplay is going to be spraying and pre-firing and spamming. Those are like three of the biggest terms. Spraying is basically where you get a spray down kill, where you actually spray as opposed to just tap firing or burst firing. Spamming is where you are spamming through a smoke or through a wall, potentially to deal some damage or even get a kill if you know an enemy's there, or to shut down on areas such as if there's a smoke down and you don't want them pushing through, you can spam it. Now next up you have pre-firing. Pre-firing is basically where you are shooting preemptively at certain commonly played areas. Pre-firing also goes very in depth, and I have a video on that as well, and I'm going to link that in the description as well. Now there's also stacking and rotating. Stacking is going to be basically where you send more forces than you normally would towards a certain bomb site. Like you were going to stack a site on bind, so you send 4 players on a site towards bind. This is generally used on eco rounds. It's basically to secure kills and get easy trades. Now, I forgot to mention anti-ecoing. And anti-ecoing is where you are anticipating the enemy team to actually play an eco round. And you expect the enemy team to rush, and basically what a rush is where the enemy team either attacking or defending. You can do it on both sides. If you are attacking, you are rushing full on into a bomb site and you are trying to actually win the round. And if you are rushing on the defenders, it is basically when you have no money and you want to get aggressive towards a certain area of the map and take the enemies by surprise and secure some easy kills and maybe get some guns. So an anti-eco is trying to counter a rush or an eco round from the enemy team. And what you do basically is you play back, you play in certain areas that counters ecos, such as long range corridors, such as just very unexpected positions on the site where you cannot easily be traded. Eco rounds can be very devastating if you play them wrong. Anti-eco rounds can actually lose you a lot of rounds because you don't play them correctly. I'm not going to talk about it very much. I'm probably going to release a separate video on anti-eco rounds because anti-ecos are very, very crucial and you actually want to know how to play them. But that is what an anti-eco round is for anyone that may have been confused. Now, a couple more terms you want to know is entry fragging and lurking, and these are basically 2 player roles or 2 positions that a teammate will take up or an enemy player will take up. Entry is going to be the first person into the site clearing out angles for your team, and you want to make sure you have his back when he is doing so. Lurking is basically when there is an enemy player or one of you guys are split off from the team in a very separate part of the map. If somebody on your team calls out that there is somebody lurking, that means he is unknown and you don't know where he is at, and he could be anywhere on the map and you have to look out for him. Unknown is also a term that you will hear a lot, like last is unknown, so nobody knows where the last player is. Very simple, right? Next up, we have different ways you can actually play the round, and that is defaulting, playing slow, or pushing in fast. Pushing in fast would just basically be a rush or a coordinated attack or a execute onto a site, and an execute is also a term basically for a very coordinated rush. Now, if a teammate's like, okay, let's execute a site, that means you guys want to group up and actually hit the site together. Playing slow is basically where you are waiting outside and you're waiting for a pick. A pick is just getting a kill on the enemy team, putting you in somewhat of an advantageous position. Getting a pick can be as simple as just getting 1 kill or getting a specific kill that actually allows you to push into somewhere. I forgot to mention, I did say rotate earlier, but I actually didn't follow up on that. Rotating is basically where you probably kill an enemy player and you know there are enemies rotating off of a certain bomb site to the other one. And rotating can happen just by putting pressure towards a site, and then an enemy will decide to rotate from one bomb site to another, and that's when it's called out like, hey, one is rotating. Or if one of your teammates actually hears somebody rotating over, then they will call that out. One is rotating from A to B. Now, playing slow is basically the same thing as playing for picks or defaulting, where you're basically just waiting around the map, waiting for an enemy player to actually push in or make a mistake, and you capitalize, and that is playing slow. If you're playing slow, you don't want to over-aggress in certain areas of the map, and you don't want to get killed because that can be very bad for your team. And that is generally done, most of these are generally done on the attacking side. I forgot to mention that. Now we're coming to the end of the video, and I want to explain 3 terms that are used very often in retake scenarios. And actually, before we get started, I should mention utility. Utility is basically everything that you have in your arsenal that you can use to actually secure rounds, such as flashbangs, smokes, you know, different utility, different abilities, utilities, same shit. So look out for that. So retaking is what I wanted to talk about. And retaking is basically where the enemy team has secured the site and they are in the act of planting the bomb, and you have to retake the bomb site. You have to regain control of the bomb site, recapture it, and recover. I'm not going to talk much about retakes, but in retakes, there are a couple terms you want to know. Playing for bomb is one of them, and post plants is another, and one more is going to be tapping the bomb. So playing the bomb is basically where the enemy team or you are trying to basically stall as much time as possible on the bomb timer. Say you are the last alive, it is a 1 versus 1. You don't want to take the fight willy-nilly. You don't want to peek out and get yourself killed. That will make you look like a fucking fool, and you will get laughed at by your entire team, and nobody likes that. Now, post plants are going to be the positions you decide to take up to actually defend the bomb from a retake from the defending side. Now, there are good post plants and bad post plants. I'm going to make videos on post plants in specific. And the last one I wanted to cover is going to be tapping the bomb. And tapping the bomb is basically where you just press E or whatever your defuse button is on the bomb, and you make the audio cue, and that will sometimes cause the enemy player to actually peek out. It's also known as a fake, so look out for that term as well. Tapping, faking, same shit. And hand in hand with tapping and faking comes sticking, where, hey, he's sticking the bomb. You might want to swing out and actually try and kill him. Sticking is basically where the enemy player or you yourself decide to just sit on the bomb and not let go of your defuse button. And hopefully you just kind of take the bet that he will not peek you, and you hopefully have the mind game on him to the point where he won't peek you and you can actually get the defuse off. That is known as sticking. Now, we have one more term to cover, and it is kind of the last term. It's very uncommon. That's why I didn't want to put it in here. And it's known as either a raid boss or a hero buy. And basically what it is on the pistol round, somebody drops you a very good pistol and combines it with your armor. Or if you were on a save eco round and somebody has enough to afford a vandal and will still be able to buy the next round, then they will drop a vandal for a teammate that has armor. And then you can have that one player that can kind of bait your team and secure kills that way by baiting you and kind of getting vandal kills and securing kills and hopefully securing more weapons for your team. Now, I didn't go super in depth, but I covered as many of the basic terms as I possibly could. If there's any I missed, leave that shit in the comments, please, for other people to actually see. I want to educate people because I know a lot of players don't understand where the fuck these terms come from, and they get yelled at by their team because they don't understand them. Like, a lot of people don't understand, hey, this may be their first time playing a game like this, so maybe they don't know all the goddamn Counter-Strike terms, right? So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Very long video. I tried to go a little bit in depth, but kind of keep it at the surface level at the same time. So I hope you guys enjoyed. If you did, leave a fucking like. Please leave a like. I'm going to cry if I don't see at least 10 likes on this video. And leave a comment, you know, describing other terms that I may have missed. And I will, you know, give it a heart, you know, pin it if it's a super good one. And, you know, that's about it. You sweet motherfuckers have a good day, okay?